Sipho Hotstix Mabuse, a name that carries rhythm, legacy, and more than 5 decades of music history. From Soweto's dusty streets to the global stage, Mabuse's story has always been larger than life. But what if I told you that for years, whispers surrounded his journey, rumors that no one dared to confirm? Some called them half-truths, others dismissed them as myths. And yet, at the age of 65, Sipho Hotstix Mabuse finally broke his silence. Some fans cheered, others were left stunned, and many began to see him in a completely different light. What exactly did he reveal? And why did it take so long? By the end of this story, you'll understand not only the man behind the music, but the truth behind the rumors that have followed him for decades. So let's dive in. Sipho Cecil Peter Mabuse was born in 1951 in Soweto, Johannesburg, a place where rhythm wasn't just entertainment, it was survival. The township pulsed with music, protest, and resilience. For young Sipho, the soundscape of his childhood wasn't defined by radio stations or polished records, but by his grandfather and uncles who sang stlatamia, a traditional choral form. Those harmonies were the heartbeat of his home, the early whispers of a destiny that no one could have predicted. By 8 years old, Sipho was already behind a drum set, not just tapping for fun, playing. By 15, he was a professional musician. Think about that. While most teenagers were still fumbling through high school assignments, Sipho was performing for paying crowds. At just 19, he made a bold choice that would change everything. He left school in Standard 9 to chase music full-time. For many, it was reckless. For Sipho, it was inevitable. The late 1960s gave birth to his first great musical chapter. Alongside fellow students Selby Ntuli, Alec Kawu Lee, and Monty Ndimande, Sipho formed the Beaters. Picture it. 4 young black musicians in white mandarin-collared jackets, barefoot on stage, delivering a fusion of township soul and American Motown swagger. But this was more than performance. The Beaters weren't just playing songs, they were carving out space for black musicians in an industry dominated by gatekeepers. Their presence on stage was revolutionary. Their style, a blend of Soweto soul and Stax-inspired groove, became the soundtrack of a restless generation. Still, destiny had bigger plans. By 1976, the Beaters had evolved into Harari. The name shift wasn't just cosmetic, it was a declaration, a rejection of Western homage in favor of African pride. Named after a township outside Salisbury, now Harare, this was a statement of identity at the height of apartheid. Harari's music was electric, Afro-rock, funk, fusion. They weren't just a band, they were a movement. They became the first black pop/rock group to appear on South African television. Their single party was so massive it sold 250,000 copies, even cracking the US Disco Hot 100 in 1982. For a band from Soweto under apartheid, that wasn't just success, it was history. But tragedy would strike. In 1978, founding member Selby Ntuli passed away. Sipho stepped up, not just as a drummer, but as band leader, carrying Harari forward. Yet, by 1984, Harari's chapter closed, and Sipho faced a new question. What would his solo legacy look like? Every artist has that one song that defines them. For Sipho, it was Burnout. Released in the early 1980s, it wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. Over 500,000 copies sold. Radio dominance that has lasted more than 4 decades. To this day, Burnout is played with the same energy it carried back then. It wasn't just another track, it was a cultural milestone. Much like Dave Brubeck's Take 5 in the United States, Burnout became a timeless classic in South Africa. It redefined Afropop and township jive, introducing a new rhythm that still echoes today. And here's where the first whispers began. Rumors swirled that Sipho's success was too big, too sudden. Some claimed he couldn't replicate it. Others said he was destined to fade. But Sipho had other plans. Instead of sticking to a formula, Mabuse spread his wings. Jazz, reggae, mbatlanga, gospel, kwela, kwaito, you name it, he played it. He once declared he wanted to be a total musician, like Phil Collins, Sting, or Al Jarreau. Not boxed in, not limited. Albums like Township Child and Chant of the Marching proved his versatility. He wasn't chasing trends, he was shaping them. And along the way, he was rubbing shoulders with the greatest. Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Ray Phiri, Sibongile Khumalo. Sipho wasn't just collaborating, he was producing, co-writing, shaping the very sound of a continent. He co-wrote Mama with Makeba, called You his big brother, and worked on projects that remain etched in African music history. By now, the rumors were growing louder. Could one man really do it all? Was Sipho Hotstix Mabuse truly the legend people claimed, or just a lucky hitmaker riding the wave of burnout? Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Despite the fame, the awards, the success, Sipho never left Soweto. While others moved to gated suburbs, Mabuse stayed rooted in the township. To fans, it wasn't just humility. It was proof that he hadn't forgotten where he came from. But it was his decision at 60 that made the biggest headlines. The man who left school in 1969, at the peak of his teenage musical rise, walked back into a classroom decades later. And he didn't just attend, he passed his matric exams at 60 years old. The nation was stunned. Newspapers splashed the story across front pages. Former President Jacob Zuma praised him. Overnight, Sipho became more than a musician. He was a symbol of perseverance, proof that it's never too late. And this was the confirmation. At 65, Sipho acknowledged what many had whispered for years. The rumor that he had regretted leaving school early. The rumor that he longed to complete his education. For decades, he stayed silent. Then finally, he admitted it, and he acted on it. The truth was out. But Sipho's story didn't stop at personal redemption. He poured his energy into mentoring younger artists. He worked with musicians half his age, treating them not as juniors, but equals. He joined boards like the National Arts Council, shaping the very future of South African music. His mission was clear: create a meaningful consciousness among young people, to guide them, inspire them, and ensure the rhythm carried on long after his own drumsticks were laid down. Of course, no story of a legend is without its shadows. For Sipho, it came in the form of SAMRO, the Southern African Music Rights Organization. In 2019, allegations surfaced that he and others had unlawfully enriched themselves by overpaying more than 1.6 million rand. Sipho's alleged share, 171,000 rand. It was a scandal that shook the music industry. Yet here's the twist: no criminal charges were filed against him. And the truth? SAMRO itself was riddled with systemic corruption, underpayment scandals, and fraudulent claims. Sipho's name was caught in the storm, but his legacy endured. Because while controversy made headlines, accolades told the deeper story. In 2005, he received a South African Music Award, Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2018, the nation honored him with the Silver Order of Ekamanga, one of the highest civilian awards. That same year, he was recognized again at the SATMA Awards. These weren't pity trophies. They were acknowledgements that, despite industry battles, Sipho Hotstix Mabuse was and remains a national treasure. Even now, decades after his first drumbeat, Mabuse is still performing, still standing on stage, often with his children and grandchildren, proving that music is a family inheritance. Presidents sit in his audiences. Generations sing his songs. He's not just a relic of the past, he's living history. His music has become part of the very fabric of South Africa. So, what was the rumor? For years, fans whispered that Sipho regretted leaving school early, that behind the legend was a man haunted by unfinished business. At 65, Sipho confirmed it. He didn't just speak it, he proved it, pen in hand, exam paper in front of him. And in doing so, he gave South Africa a gift greater than any hit song. A reminder that it's never too late to rewrite your story. Sipho Hotstix Mabuse is more than burnout, more than Harari, more than SAMRO, more than awards. He is rhythm itself. And even now, as he continues to perform, his story remains a beat that refuses to fade. Because legends don't retire, they resonate. And that brings us to the end of this story. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the life and legacy of Sipho Hotstix Mabuse, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of music's greatest icons. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.